All right, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive paradigm shift, when holistic integration validates success factors better than individual achievement metrics. We usually tend to divide the working world into spreadsheets on one side and soft skills on the other. But today, we're diving into hard, global data to completely challenge how we validate success in the first place. So let's just immediately juxtapose the traditional corporate assumption right up against what the new data is telling us. The old rigid view basically assumes individual achievement is the absolute only reliable validator. You know the drill. You hit your numbers, you succeed. But the new data actually points us toward the turquoise stage of spiral dynamics, where holistic integration becomes a much deeper, far more accurate measure of actual success. Really think about this pervasive assumption for a second. Individual achievement as the sole validator validates success factor effectiveness. This is quite literally how almost every standard performance review is built today. You're probably nodding your head at it right now. But we are about to completely dismantle this idea using systemic global data. We're going to show you exactly why treating isolated accomplishment as the ultimate proof of legitimacy is actually breaking your team's coordination.
Now check out this specific number, 0.0498. What's super interesting here is that this is the exact positive correlation between empathy as a success factor and the turquoise value system. It's literally the mathematical moment when a system stops validating success just through individual metrics and starts validating it through signals of holistic integration. So empathy here isn't just some soft relational skill. It is mathematically proven to be a hard marker of systemic unity.
And the scale of this evidence? It's absolutely massive. We're talking 96 countries, 25 languages, and nearly 3,200 respondents. With a critical value of 0.0347, that 0.0498 correlation we just talked about is highly statistically significant, and it perfectly aligns with previous turquoise empathy correlations too, things like 0.0514, 0.0455, and 0.0478. The pattern is incredibly consistent. Basically, this data proves that as the turquoise mindset strengthens, holistic integration actively deprioritizes those isolated individual metrics. Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's map it out. First, an organization usually starts with individual achievement as its sole validator. You hit your quota, boom, you get the bonus, right? But as that system matures into a turquoise context, we see step 2 kick in, a shift toward relational-systemic unity. You start to realize that isolated performance can actually damage the wider ecosystem. And then finally, we reach step 3, where unified authenticity severely outweighs isolated performance. In this state, a top performer who breaks the team's trust, they are no longer viewed as successful by the system.
Now let's walk through this cross-stage comparison, because this is where it gets really fascinating. Look at how different organizational stages, what spiral dynamics calls V-memes or core value systems, validate success. In a green community mindset in France, empathy has a massive positive correlation of 0.2137. But if you shift over to orange, which is that strategic, highly competitive mindset, empathy actually has a negative correlation of 0.0821. Why? Because the orange system views it as inefficient. Meanwhile, a blue procedural mindset in Germany highly validates honesty at a positive 0.2976. This is mathematical proof that different stages validate the exact same success factors, but through completely different lenses.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that a single success factor, like adaptability or empathy, creates completely divergent validation models, depending on the underlying value system. Purple validates success through tribal belonging. Blue requires procedural duty. Red respects power and autonomy. Orange optimizes for strategic results. Green wants collective care. Yellow calibrates for systemic fit. And turquoise? It seeks holistic integration. If you're a manager trying to apply orange competitive metrics to a turquoise or green team, you aren't just communicating poorly, you are literally causing a systemic conflict. So what happens when these metrics are misaligned? Well, we get a systemic breakdown. When people treat individual achievement as the sole proof of legitimacy, relational systemic unity instantly weakens. Think about it. If the system rewards me for completely crushing my colleague in sales, why on earth would I coordinate with them? Trust suffers deeply when evaluations confuse personal accomplishment with genuine, systemic coordination capacity. And it triggers this exact, predictable chain reaction. It always starts with individual achievement validation overriding the group. That leads straight to holistic integration erosion. The team just stops working like an organism. Next, we hit success definition fragmentation, where different departments start defining success in totally incompatible ways. That deepens performance rigidity. And finally, your success metrics completely lose their predictive validity.
Your spreadsheets might be telling you everything is perfectly fine, while the actual operational reality is literally collapsing around you. Which actually brings us to this incredible framework, the Dynamic Programming Model, or DPM. This is how we map the invisible wiring of an organization. This framework uses an astonishing 13,000 statistical correlations gathered from all over the globe. We're essentially taking all those messy variables of human psychology, our fears, our trust levels, our wildly varying definitions of success, and turning them into a solvable mathematical equation for predicting organizational behavior.
Right, and here is the actual math engine making it happen, the transition function. The future psychological state of your company, that's the S of T plus 1, is basically a function of your current psychological state plus your management action filtered precisely through the cultural context. What this equation means is that you can actually simulate a management decision. You can predict with incredibly high accuracy exactly how a specific team is going to react to a change purely based on their value system profile.
Now, compare that to the standard way companies operate. Predicting outcomes without factoring in these specific cultural lenses is wildly unreliable. If you ignore them and just assume everyone is motivated by the exact same isolated metric, you're going to fail. For a reliable path forward, your prediction model absolutely must integrate whether a system values individual optimization or holistic contexts. Factoring in these specific value system lenses is the only way cross-cultural success assessments actually work.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, how on earth am I supposed to process 13,000 correlations every time I make a daily management decision? Well, enter AI vibe coding. This is a massive 2025 to 2026 software development trend where users simply instruct large language models like Claude Code or Cursor using plain, natural language to build really complex analytical apps. You don't read or write traditional code, you literally just speak to the system, and it brings this massive web of systemic data right to your fingertips. It's a total game changer.
And here's what that actually looks like. This is the SD Navigator interface, created entirely through AI vibe coding. It maps the exact worldview profile, or the state vector, of a team across all the spiral dynamics colors, right alongside sensors for fear, trust, and well-being. In the center, you've got management actions, like introducing remote work or shifting strategy. And down at the bottom, it predicts the exact future psychological state if you take that action. It's visualizing highly complex, multi-level decision-making in real time.
The best part is you don't even need a data science degree for this. You just prompt the system conversationally. Show me Turquoise stage success validation patterns using the What Makes People Successful at Work dataset with life conditions context. By just asking that, the system automatically sifts through thousands of correlations, entirely bypassing the need for manual coding, and it delivers targeted systemic wisdom instantly.
So, what does the AI actually spit out? Well, the outputs are super revealing. The data immediately maps out how Turquoise systems actively deprioritize individual metrics. Instead, it highlights this deep embrace of relational systemic unity. It tracks how variables like empathy, adaptability, honesty, and a willingness to learn fluctuate wildly depending on whether the team's core values are rooted in tribal survival, strategic competition, or holistic integration.
And I really need to hammer home just how hyper-contextual this all is. Look at the geographic variations the AI uncovers here. A blue-leaning system in Germany fiercely validates success through honesty at a positive 0.2976. Over in Poland, the focus shifts heavily toward willingness to learn at a massive 0.3025, and in a green-leaning system in France, empathy dominates at 0.2137. It completely destroys the idea of a one-size-fits-all corporate success metric. What makes you wildly successful in one context will literally get you fired in another.
Which brings us right back to the core shift of this whole explainer. The real risk to your organization isn't weak personal performance, it's flawed validation. I want to leave you with this final, vital question to really mull over. What breaks when success validation stops measuring individual achievement as the sole signal and starts measuring relational systemic unity through holistic integration? If you're a leader, it is time to check your state vector. Watch out for those butterfly effects and ensure you are measuring what actually creates unity. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Keep learning and stay focused.